there's so much around diversity, and diversity can happen in so many different ways when it comes to your race, but also your gender. And being a woman of color, you're split into both of those categories, unfortunately.
Mm.
And for me, I was saying this to you before we even started, but like gender equality is something that's so important to me, and it's something I'm so passionate about, because I feel as though, especially from a South Asian culture, and I can only talk from a South Asian culture,
Yeah.
that girls and guys are treated very differently because of the way that people have been brought up. And it's so difficult, because I feel like I've gone through that, where I'm like, okay, but because I feel like from a diaspora, you're British and you're Asian,
Mm.
that you're like, okay, my British side is telling me that girls and guys is fine, but my Indian side is telling me that guys can go out late but girls can't, or guys
Mm.
can do this but girls can't. I'm like, what? And it's so, because everyone wants to be treated equally, and it's really unfair, because that all these expectations and stuff are put on women, because no woman chose to be a woman, right?
Mm.
Like, so it's really frustrating that people put expectations and pressures on people based on something that they can't change. And that's what's really frustrating about it, is the fact that I didn't sign up for this.
Mm. No, I think that's so true, and I think recently I've had some really great conversations with women, and to hear their side of it. Because when I was younger, as a being a boy, and because you get treated kind of better, you kind of don't want to have that conversation, right? You kind of like happy with your status in your household. My sister being younger than me and stuff, and then even like for example, marriage, like the women has to go to the boy's house, and this, that, and the other, and the expectations put on them, and I never ever like thought about it from a woman's point of view until I actually spoke to them, and actually asked them, and asking them from a place of inquisition, like you said, like not in a I'm here to tell you why I'm right, and here like tell me your side of the story. And I think for guys as well, like it's so important because when I was speaking to my parents about this, my dad never had a conversation about his privilege. Like he just never thought about it. And my mom had to go to his house and adapt and learn and be introduced to his family. But my dad really didn't have that oh my wife's coming into my family. He didn't think about it that way. And I think for our generation, for the guys' perspective, we have to be very much more attuned and aligned to what women go through. And I think, and do you think these conversations are one way of tackling that? Is that how you see
Yeah,
it?
of course. I feel like conversation, there's, like you said before, there's such a power in conversations.
Mm.
And I feel as though when you just chat to someone and you wholeheartedly just want to know, I think there's like two different types of conversation. There's conversation for the sake of making conversation, and there's
Yeah.
conversation that you actually really want to know. And I think when you have those conversations, or whereby you really just want to know, you do end up seeing it from a different way, because it's coming from a sincere place.
Mm.
And then you're like, oh crap, because I have that now. Like, there's so many things that I haven't been through, but I hear it and I'm like, wow, like, and then you kind of understand, like, I'm such a big believer that everyone has a story, and like
Mm.
everyone is the main character in their own movie kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But then, like, the thing is, like, that's the thing, like, that's your story and that's how you got there. And I think it's so amazing that we live in this generation now where people want to share their stories. Like, they're not
Mm.
waiting for like Hollywood filmmakers to perhaps make a story about them. They're making it themselves. They're creating it, whether that's through podcasting, YouTube, TikTok, um all these social media platforms. And I think it's amazing, because I think social media in that sense has been so
Mm.
good, of just people creating that representation that they didn't get as a kid.
No, I think you described it really well, and that there's this fearless attitude. I know you said about fearless women before, fearless female. Sorry, and I think there's a fearless attitude in the younger generation to not be bound by like the stereotypes of our culture, and
What
to
will people
challenge it.
think?
Yeah, exactly. What will people think? Like, how many times you must hear in the household, like, oh, we have to do this in case the neighbors say this or the auntie say this, and like. And I think we're just like, this is rubbish. Like, I want to do what I want to do. I want to live my truth. Like, I want to get out there and show what we can do. And there's a real power in that. And I think like
Yeah.
your podcast is one of them, and so many people on Instagram doing so many incredible things. Like, it's really inspirational. And I think this generation won't just stand for not so this whole idea of gender inequality. Do you think it's possible in our generation, or maybe the generation after us, where these stereotypes can be eradicated, or do you think we're on the right track?